This will be a good one.
It'll be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Hitting Zone podcast. This is where we bring in some fantastic hitting coaches and talk about hitting, of course. It's in the name, the Hitting Zone podcast. But first, before we get into this conversation, I want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors, Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. We are down here at Champions Village, which one of our sponsors is Prime Sports Midwest at 1550 Ochelo Drive. It's actually like 2 miles from Highway 270 and 44, and then like 2 miles right at 141. So whichever direction you're coming from, it's pretty convenient to get to. A couple right turns, and you're in here. At great facility. I've been checking out the Prime Sports location. It's nice. And then you have the other one that's over there in St. Charles and St. Peter's, 7550, I think it is, the address. I took a wild guess, 7505. I got it wrong. I was close. I had it somewhat. I'd rather have 50 cents than 5 cents, but anyways, make sure you go check them out. You have the two locations for all you St. Louis people and then for all you St. Charles County folks. And I can't forget my man, Mitch Harlan and GOAThletics, the connection there with YBM in general. He's been fantastic to work with on my side of the business. And then he's a big sponsor here with YBM in the show. They do have a website that's live. Is that accurate? I'm not sure what the website is. I believe it's GOAThletics. GOATathleticproducts.com. So you can go hit them up and get some gear. I don't know. Have you tried these on yet?
I've not, but I've seen all the boys wearing them. They love them.
Okay, so we might open them up. But I got a new guest today. It's the first time meeting this gentleman. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and then how are you? We are down at Champions Village, and we're working with the U.S. Nationals group. And so I want you to introduce yourself to all of our fans out there.
Absolutely. My name's Zack Rutter. I run the 5-star hitting program here at Champions Village and help coach out with the U.S. Nationals as well. So,
is 5-star your program, or is it a combination of just the facility?
Yeah, kind of both.
Okay.
Yeah, so the same guys who operate the Nationals in the facility run own 5-star as well, and I'm just a guy out here in the trenches working hard and running it. So
the trenches, that's the hard part. I feel like an offensive lineman sometimes always getting beat up out here, whether it's coaches asking questions, parents, your directors. You trenches is a good word for that. Where did you play college ball, high school ball? Are you local?
I went to Seckman High School and then went to play Jeffco for a little bit and took a couple years out of the game and found my way back into coaching some time ago and been in it ever since. So,
any differences between what you experienced as a player, college player, to current standards?
Yeah, 100%. Everything's kind of changed, and you get a lot of negativity with a lot of new stuff that's going on. But I feel like as long as you use it to your advantage and know what you're looking for and know how to kind of communicate things to the kids, it's nothing but help. Just needs to be used the right way.
Yeah, I've been getting beat up a lot lately. I'm a hitting guy myself. Obviously, it's in the podcast name, but I've been kind of adapting in how I coach, right? So it used to be a lot of one-on-one lessons. There was a big driver in one-on-one lessons. I kind of moved to the group setting here recently. I found more value in the group setting, just in the competition amongst it, the time that is spent. I get a whole lot more done in an hour and a half. I choose to actually do my group sessions in an hour and a half, not an hour. And I can get a broad scope of the game, like just, the mental side of it. I got a lot going on, and I love this piece of it. And more than anything, what I'm finding is we don't move well as athletes right now. I don't know if it's because we don't run and jump outside enough. We don't do those kinds of things, or I feel like we still play multiple sports. Like I got some 3-sport athletes that don't move well in general. And I've been training a lot with movements and functional training, and I've been catching some heat because I spend time training movements versus just going in there and throwing a whole bunch of reps. And what are your thoughts kind of on what we're seeing technology wise and how data is just suggesting like, hey, we do need to move more and better and more efficiently. What are you experiencing here within the 5-star hitting?
You're spot on. I think, I don't know what it is, whether it's, if they're just a little more stagnant, sitting down, more video games, not getting outside as much. But hitting is one of the most athletic things you could do ever, right? You need to be athletic in the box. And if you're not, you're at a disadvantage from the start with something that's already incredibly hard to do. So, the aspect of being able to move well and stay athletic, and be strong while moving well, right? It's a lot going on, but being in the gym, communicating with what athletes are doing in the gym, out of the gym, how they're recovering, how they're moving is huge. I mean, it's really everything. If you break it down to a low level, like if you're not moving well, you're not going to hit well. Right?
Yep.
It's simple as that.
Yeah, I always crack jokes with my guys, and some of especially on the high school side, I'll ask them. I go, "Can you dance?" And I'll have a bunch of hands that go up, and I got a bunch of hands that stay down, and I'm like, if you can't dance, you can't hit.
Yep.
And you have to have some rhythm, right? And I'm not asking you to be a Magic Mike or something crazy. You know what I mean? I'm not asking you to have dance moves like that, but you got to have some sort of flow and rhythm to your body. And I don't understand what's the biggest differences. Your street lights came on, I had to be in the house. It was time for dinner, things like that. And we had rules back then, and it's like different technology these days. And don't get me wrong, I love video games. Mm-hmm. I love the technology that's available to us. I love having access to my phone. Being a business owner myself, it's like just having that available to me is big. When there's an important situation, I don't have to wait until I get back home. I can answer some questions, or if I need to make adjustments. And it's like, there's part of me that loves it. And then it's also the part that I'm 44 years old where all we did was rep, right? So when I grew up hitting, we just repped. Yeah. Instruction wasn't as big as it is now. You don't have a facility on the corner like a liquor store, kind of deal. And these are all over, and it's like there's a hitting guy everywhere. And I'm not knocking anybody's programs, nothing crazy like that. It's just a lot. And it's like we had to learn to fail. We had to make adjustments. If we weren't doing something, we spent those times doing that. Now we actually have to, I feel like it's way more important to train the athlete to move than it is even to try to take 100 reps in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of over-coaching, especially in hitting, that goes on. Like deep down, like mechanic talk that kind of turns kids into almost like robots. Like they're thinking so much about where their body's at in space and not worried about really what the objective is putting the bat on the ball. I think one of the best things like a youth player could do is literally play wiffle ball, or have a coach throw wiffle ball and try to get you out and not tell you anything about your swing. Just hit the ball hard up the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
And their body's usually gonna find a way to figure it out. So I think there is a lot of just over coaching, kind of like over brain stimulation, just thinking too much in the box and taking that athleticism away.
Yeah, and that's big too. And that's one of the things that I struggle with is what age and what is too much or, not enough, because of the high school side, you want to give them that kind of information just because of how their brain's developing. And then once you get your professional athletes in here, especially the guys 23, 27 years old, that's when that brain matures. Those conversations are way different.
Deep,
and those are the guys that might in an hour and a half session take 20 swings and feel great. Yeah. Where I do agree with some of the parents, like we need to rep, the kids need to have that, but ultimately I have to move them. And I think that's one of the biggest things to focus on right now. And I just wanted to get that out there just because I don't know how what parents are asking you or what your directors are asking you on, why did you choose to do this versus, something different, and how that's working for you. And it's kind of universal. It's like everybody, we're trying to train to move. And I'm putting that pressure back to the parents and saying, hey, you have a range, you have facility availabilities to you, right? So if you have memberships, if you're in a club, you usually have memberships to the facility. You and your athlete need to go up there and hit.
Right.
right? You can rep there. You can do the things that we're talking about in practice and get your reps there for 20 minutes, and you can get a lot done in 20 minutes with just dad or mom, flipping your baseballs or teammates, which is always fun to hang out with your teammates. But again, it's right now I feel an obligation to teach movement patterns, and that kind of leads me into kind of a few of the questions I had just kind of for the development here is kind of what is the philosophy overall? And you don't have to, obviously, we as heading guys, we probably keep some of this, internal. Sure. But what is like the big driver behind the philosophy here, and what is your big goal as a hitting group?
Sure. So my big thing is that really it comes down to every single hitter needs something completely different. So I'm not tied to a certain philosophy. I'm tied to helping each guy with whatever they need, right? A lot of guys have complete opposite problems, and we do group training here. So if a group of 4, I might have 4 hitters that need to hear something completely different, right? So I like to say to the guys, while you're here, I'm trying to give you tools to put in your toolbox. Tell you when to use them. The important thing is for you to know when to use them and how to use them, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to give you as many tools as I can, right? Different solutions to the problems that these pitchers are trying to give you. But yeah, every single guy needs something different, or if they're working on the same thing, they might need to hear it different ways, right? So being able to communicate certain things in a different way and dumb it down to make it super simple in their head to where they're not overthinking about it, but they know the understanding and the why behind it is huge. But just giving every guy what they need, because it's almost always different and they all move completely different.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the biggest things that I've tried to change and adapt as I continue to grow in my coaching career as well, because I have to adapt every year or every month, every week. It seems like there's different adaptations I have. And one of my things was just remembering how simple hitting used to be, right? And how when it was simple, I didn't have these overthinking process. I didn't have that. And, I thought about situations. And so what I'm trying to do is get back to kind of the roots of having a higher IQ as a hitter, and building that. And you can't do that with throwing a whole bunch of reps. You can have that conversation and you could say it while you're flipping reps, but you have to have that conversation and feedback from the athletes to know where their mind is at. And I found that you talk about the overcoaching again. I have found that like when I'm down at third base, because I coach team 2, that when a player's in a certain situation, they'll look down at me and go, what did I do wrong? I'm not trying to coach there.
No.
I'm literally like, go back to the wiffle ball thing. Do whatever you have to do to catch a barrel. Like, I really don't care at the end of the day. Like, yeah, we train movements, but when it comes down to the game, let it be free. Yep. Everything we've worked on is just one moment. Don't think about how perfect you need to be to hit a curveball that is bouncing in the dirt because he threw you a certain fastball or maybe he dotted the fastball on the outside corner, then threw a curveball off it. That's just a damn good job of pitching, right? And pitch calling. And you have to tip your cap sometimes. And I always tell a guy, you're going to get one pitch is yours, one pitch is the pitcher, one pitch is the umpire. Yeah, make sure when you get yours, right? Don't miss.
Yeah, that's another thing that's huge too is having guys understand what pitches they hit well and why they hit them well, and what pitchers they're going to struggle with, right? Because every guy's going to have, hot and cold zone, and a lot of guys don't know where that is. So giving them the understanding of, hey, this pitch is yours. Here's why. This is what you should be looking for, and being able to lay off whether it might be a strike, but it's going to be a really tough pitch for you to do damage with. Leave it unless you have 2 strikes, right? So having that understanding and kind of that approach going into the game is huge too.
That's got to be the hardest thing right now to break young kids of, is swinging at strikes. I don't know if it's because we pump so many of them. The best person in the cage is the guy throwing the ball, right? If you have a bad BP tosser, it's hard to find your consistent groove, things that you're working on. So I think the guy that throwing the ball is probably one of the most important guys. But when I think about just like what you just said in general, the hot and cold zones, I was a low ball hitter. I'm a right-handed hitter, but I was a low ball guy. And I'm talking like below the knees, like shins, kind of middle shins. I loved getting down in my legs, and it kept my swing true. And I was able to finish through it. I love the one-handed finish. The ball up in the zone, I don't hit well. So you could get me to 2 strikes to the ball up in the zone, if you pumped me there. And I'd have to adjust and adapt and when I knew that I wasn't efficient at something, I just tried to catch a barrel. I tried to hit a single. I didn't try to do any damage.
Right.
But I tell you, if you made the mistake and I was looking for my mistake, I stayed in that zone. And it kept getting smaller. If I was in a plus hitting count,
absolutely.
which hitters don't know what that means most of the time. If I'm in a plus count, I'm like, I'm coming out of my shoes. And I may or may not hit it far. I may pop it up. I may roll over. I may yank it foul. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I am going, not to miss. And a miss is like, well, I might get a duck fart. I might hit it out. I don't know. But I don't want to swing and miss.
In your case, probably, and a lot of guys too, like you'd probably be better off swinging at a ball a little under the strike zone than swinging that high fastball that's actually in the strike zone, right? So that's like a crazy concept. Every time I say that to a kid, I get the craziest look. Like, I'm telling you, I'd rather you swing at this ball a little bit out of the zone than this one in the zone. Like, what? I go, dude, you will crush that pitch.
They go, can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something I can do. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, people, like, are you supposed to stay within the 17 inches in the little box that is your strike zone?
I always say the strike zone's for the umpire. It has nothing to do with you, right? Don't get that box out of your head. Create your own box. Because
what can you
your
hit?
Shape is going to be different.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because, like, when you watch BP sessions, they swing at everything, right? And so they'll swing at a ball this high off the ground, and let's say they don't hit it well, and you give them, tips how to hit it well. You throw that same pitch again, and they melt it, and they're like, "Wow, that was pretty cool." And I'm like, "Do you even know what you did? Like, that's like, how did you do that? Replay the information back in your head." And they're like, "I don't know how I did that." And it's such a bummer because it's something that the athlete did, right? Like, it's not really your coaching. Like, yeah, we can have that conversation, but the athlete did it. The athlete needs to remember.
Yeah.
And some of the times they get mad at me because I say stuff like that. I was like, what did you do? I said, I can't fix that. I can't help you. Your body, your mind, like Brian says it all the time. He goes, the body follows the mind.
Yeah.
And you cannot play this sport blindfolded, right? You can play without a hand, play without some toes. We've seen this stuff, right? We got a guy that's got a no-hitter under his belt with one arm and Jim Abbott. And it's just, it's crazy that, like, how important the eyes are. The eyes have to see it, and then the information, and then you have to react. And this is random. This wasn't on the list of questions, but how do you feel about muscle memory?
I feel like getting a hitter that feels something, right? That I like to try to give like objective, like usually ball flight goals. So instead of like talking like internally about mechanics per se, I'll usually give a guy a cue, like an objective goal, like low ball flight right over the second baseman's head, right? And let their body kind of self-organize. And then talk to them afterwards about what they felt and how they, like what they told themselves to do it, right? And then that's usually what helps click, is like giving them the goal, let them figure it out. They might struggle a few times, but then it'll click, right? And they found that solution by themselves. So that's the one that usually will like stand the test of time and stick around for a while, as opposed to me like forcing their body in a certain spot.
Yeah,
kind of let them self-organize.
I love that. It's when I think about how I was taught to hit, and again, it goes back to barrel. My dad used to tell me, swing hard in case I hit it.
Yeah.
And I never knew what that really meant when I was, but when I was 11 or 11, I still probably use that wiffle ball bat if I had. I don't remember if remember the big red bat that they used to have on the wiffle ball. You could crush, a mile. And I used to hit rocks with that because my grandparents had, gravel driveways. So I could just throw them up and hit them. And I did that all the time. And they would go country mile. I used to love it. But again, it's the self-organizing. And so when I think about the term muscle memory, I don't necessarily believe in it. It's me telling my body what to do. And when you talk about self-organizing and the ball's, let's say up and in, I try to teach my guys to hit the ball to second base. If I'm a right-handed hitter, I try to, whatever, opposite field, shortstop, middle infielder, right? I try to get that theory to go that direction. It's what the body has to do. I don't want to teach you the inside-outside swing. I want you to just do it, right? And I get parents that get frustrated at that because they say, well, my kid can't do that. Your kid needs to have swings at that. They need to continue to just trust themselves and make adjustments. And we don't make them enough. And we keep making, it's like, again, the definition of insanity. right? We cannot keep making the same mistakes over and over and
A lot
over.
of insanity goes on in hitting.
Yeah,
For sure.
but this is the reason why when you become a junior in high school, you don't make your varsity baseball teams because you can't make adjustments. And our game is a series of them. It's pitch to pitch, it's situation because you never know what you're going to get, that's out there. And we try to build those in kind of right before the high school season starts. Are those things that you guys do here? Is like try to build in situations, whether you go live or you're doing velo training, stuff like that?
Yeah, we're starting a lot of that stuff now. So we'll have, whether it's, two machines, one set up on fastball, the other one curveball, and have the feeder mix it up for whatever they want. We'll throw some hit tracks games in at the end of a session, have a little fun, but, compete and have it to where it's somewhat simulated at bats, the best thing I think anybody can do is live at bats with a live arm. Obviously, that's tough to do because pitchers are pitchers, and you can't. You're not going to get any work in until they're ready, and they're all different in pitch counts and all that stuff. But anytime you can see a live arm that's trying to get you out is, I think, the best hitting practice anybody could do at any age.
Do you guys start with counts, or do you guys just kind of start
depends,
fresh?
Depends on the day and who's throwing, how many arms you have. But yeah,
Pitch counts.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, anything though. If starting, 1-1, however it is. But yeah, anything.
I asked this question on Instagram, on my personal page. I believe that there's one pitch in baseball that is universal, pitcher hitter, that happens to be the most important count. So like your 0-0, like first pitch, the 3-2, 3-0, 2-0, 1-0. I think it's the most pivotal change. It's one of the biggest gaps in just the course of history of high school, college, baseball, or MLB. And there's another count that kind of fluctuates with it on the difference of batting averages. But do you have a specific count where that you can think of as a hitter, as a former player, like this pitcher's got to throw this pitch to me? And as a pitcher, and maybe you're teaching that now as a competitor, as a coach, that you're like, you have to get this strike because if you don't, the batting, your percentages go down on getting this guy out. I'm hoping I'm asking this the correct way, but is there a particular count that matters the most for the pitcher and hitter, not individually? Because I think that's very different, right? First pitch is always got to be a strike for your thought process of a pitcher, right? Because it changes the dynamics of the at-bat so much. The hitter, it's like same thing. If you're going 1-0 or getting the base hit, whatever. So I think the first pitch is obviously important.
Huge, yeah.
Is there a count that you can think of?
I would think 1-1, but just go off that as well. I don't think enough people swing 3-0. I give almost every single guy that I've ever coached a green light 3-0, depending on the situation, but not enough people swing 3-0, right?
I'm one of those guys.
And then you fall off 3-2, and then, okay, now what?
Yeah, yep.
Just go, man. I love to swing a 3-0. Yeah, but 1-1 would be my guess of what you're talking about.
That's exactly what my thoughts are, is that 1-1, because the gap is so big between 1-2 and 2-1, and it's like a 200-point gap, and it's one of the largest, and it's don't get to two strikes, and it's okay to take one, especially if it's not your pitch. We talked about that earlier, but that 1-1 to me is just something that it is a game changer in the AB. And I feel like that as a hitter, I feel like that's the one I need. And as a pitcher, I feel like that's the one I need. I feel like it's the most competitive pitch. We literally, like you just said, when your guys are facing live ABs, we sometimes start. That's why I asked the question. Yeah. You start 1-1. It forces something, right? And I just think when you look at the numbers kind of don't lie. And if you go 1-2, you're a 160 hitter. If you go 2-1, you're like a 360 hitter, So these are things that I don't think our kids think about enough. And even when we're going into this, because, you see so many times like a kid will be hitting and they'll take let's say a belly button high fastball. I'm a big low ball guy. So naturally my posture is set to hit the low pitch. Belly button for me is actually up. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I will lose connection. I will lose everything I've gained. I will roll over and flare more than I catch a barrel. And if I do catch a barrel, I'm probably yanking it foul because I'm standing up. So, for me, belly button, everybody's like, you let that pitch go. And I'm like, I don't have the posture you have. So you could throw that at my shin, though, going back to talking about low ball hitters or, bad ball hitters, if you will, Vladimir Guerrero's of the world. Guys, Adrian Beltre hitting balls off the dirt, hitting them out. It's just that happens. The question is why? And I wish that more players would actually do that and go, Coach, did you see so-and-so hit a home run the other day? He hit it off one knee. How did he do that? And I was like, let's break it down, because that's what I have the most fun in, is how'd they get there? And then go have fun and practice that. Yeah. Let's throw curveballs off the dirt, and we'll get bad bats, because sometimes they'll lose that barrel and they send it right into the dirt and they rattle through the body. But anyways, man, this has been fun. So I know that you got some probably lessons here starting soon, and this was great to kind of jump in. Are you on social media?
Yeah. I think it's Zack Rutter, ZAXXRUTTER, on both X and Instagram. So
Instagram, cool. Is 5-star hitting on there too?
Yeah,
Is it?
we got 5-star.
I'm assuming it's kind of all connected, so that's why I asked.
You'll find both from both. So I got them both tagged in and all this stuff. So
what's one piece of advice you can give a young hitter, and one piece of advice that you can give a high school player?
I think one for both in general would be to have fun, because this game itself is brutal at times, and especially on our end, the hitting end. The pitchers get to have a little more fun, but the hitters are at a disadvantage to start with. So if you don't keep the game fun, the game's going to be kind of brutal for you, and you're gonna learn to not love it as much as you did when you were a kid. So just get out there and have fun and try your hardest. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but have some fun. Youth guys, I think, be athletic. Don't get bogged down in trying to perfect your mechanics, because your body is growing. It's going to keep growing. It's going to move different in 5 years than it does now. So just be athletic, move fast, try to hit the ball hard.
Yeah, I love that. Be athletic, because we don't we go back to how we started. We don't have enough of it, right? And I just think that a 10-year-old kid worrying about mechanics is just crazy to me. It's so crazy. I like the disadvantage, because I don't think people realize how difficult hitting actually is, and which 1 versus 9, maybe 10 if you want to talk about elements. And I'm not talking the catcher, because he's usually behind us, but the umpire is against us, not intentionally. Yeah. But we have 8 guys in front of us, a pitcher and then your defenders, right? You could hit a missile and get caught and you're frustrated. You can hit a rollover single. You get to first base, you're still frustrated. Why are you frustrated? You don't forget the rollover single.
Right.
You forget about the missile that you hit because you caught a barrel, and you're just like, I was unlucky, because that's part of the game. But if you continue to catch barrels, the law of averages says you will probably be a good hitter. Yep. I appreciate it, man. Make sure you go follow him. Good information, good topics. Love the philosophy that you got going on here. Make sure you go follow him. He's got his own Instagram. He said it. We'll put it up, because I don't remember it. But I know the 5-star hitting. That was the easy piece. But you got to make sure you go into our YouTube channel, and you have to hit that subscribe button, because we have more shows like this. We have a bunch of hitting shows. We got Darren Sissel on later with Baseball 101. We have Baseball Moms. We have a bunch of great shows on there, past shows. I've been on this show for 3 years. The first time doing this, man, I was nervous as all get out, and now I feel like I can.
Pro now.
I'm good, except for when my butt turns numb from sitting on an uncomfortable chair. This thing is way too small for my backside. But anyways, man, everybody out there, go check these guys out and see what they're doing. Ask questions. That's all I can do. The biggest thing I took away from this out of anything was have fun. Don't forget, this game is about fun, because it's very hard to make it to the next levels, which some are high school, some are college. It's very difficult to make it at the professional level. So please don't be that 10-year-old, 11-year-old that's pressing, let's be major leaguers. Keep the dream alive by working hard and having fun, and see what happens. It's like throwing a dart at a wall, or I think they use a different term, but I'm going to use a dart for the safety of the show. But I appreciate it, my man. And YBM, Youth Baseball Midwest, subscribe, dinger, do all of those things so you can get notifications. Peace.